You're listening to Podcast PXN,
a video game podcast
delivering player experience news.
Let's go!
What's up, guys, and welcome to Podcast PXN, episode 221. I am one of your hosts, Daniel Prindle, aka Dan is DTM on Twitter, and I am joined over Discord by the Nintendo aficionado and artist extraordinaire, Roshan Warner, at Roro.
Hello. Discord has made a few changes recently with like the mobile app and stuff like that. And they also added a new game called Colonist. I don't know how I feel right now. I feel a little uncomfortable here in this.
That's weird. What the heck?
Just kidding. I'm just joking around.
They created a game
called... it's like, it's like, what is that tabletop game people like so much?
Like
Risk?
Risk, yeah. I
oh,
say that. Yeah.
Okay.
It is like Risk.
Yeah.
Never played Risk either. But...
Yeah.
We're also joined by the host of Large Popcorn and video producer at Dual Shockers, Christian Macias at _ISO Christian.
Please wrap it up, Dan. Let's move on to the next person of the intro.
Yeah. I will wrap it up with the DMZ daddy and the Tarkov Teletubby himself, Gage Dempster at Gilbo Biggins.
Happy to be here, Daniel.
Nice. And who else are we happy to have here? Everyone who is watching us live and participating in the chat. Just as a reminder, we are live each and every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on youtube.com/@podcastpxn and twitch.tv/podcastpxn as well. The topic of the show this week, guys, is our discussion around the Game Awards 2023. We got some announcements, some awards, and also we're going to talk about how to make the Game Awards better moving forward. But first, the show always starts with the quick bites, so let's go ahead and jump right in. Guys, you might have heard of this. The Old Gods of Asgard album Rebirth from Alan Wake 2 got to the top 10 albums list on iTunes after the Game Awards. Freaking insane. Very cool.
I saw a tweet, quote tweeting this news saying like it's pretty funny that like a fictional, a real life band who made music as a fictional band for a video game now charting like the top 10 list is quite funny considering the game is about like fiction rewriting reality. It's like, yeah, like kind of ironic.
Right.
Very cool.
Very cool indeed. Cool game. I was waiting for you to say it, Christian. You don't know, Dan. You haven't played it.
I'm bringing a different energy today.
Hell yeah. All right. I'm about it.
For now.
Stay on your toes.
Our next quick bite. Ransomware has officially overcome Insomniac Games and targeted them, unfortunately. They have reportedly targeted Insomniac, releasing personal information and passport scans of the Spider-Man 2 developers' staff, along with unreleased images from Wolverine. I think we also saw that there was speculation around some file names and possible Spider-Verse game. So that's interesting as well. And we also got news on the next Spider-Man 2 update, which I guess it was a coincidence that this happened the same day, or maybe they just want to get ahead of it. But they announced that their next update is coming in early 2024. They'll have a feature list coming closer to its release. They heard their feedback and will be adding some highly requested features, including the ability to change the time of day, swap tendril colors, and replay missions, just to name a few. Of course, there's other features that people want, including New Game Plus, audio descriptions, among many more. So,
One at your door?
yeah. Yeah, so Insomniac, fuck the damn hackers. I don't know.
Hold on. Before we kind of glaze over this.
Yes.
How is everyone feeling about within that league? How's everyone feeling about a potential Spider-Verse game? I saw this and was like immediately a little bit worried. We already talked about how Insomniac might be doing a bit too much for my personal taste, but like they're already doing a lot within their own Marvel universe. Throwing in like a Spider-Verse, is that too much?
It's interesting that you bring this up. I have a feeling that I feel about this the way I feel about Spider-Man 2, which is that from a story standpoint, I totally agree with you. I'm a bit worried. From a technical gameplay standpoint, thinking back to what Insomniac did with Rift Apart, I'm like, that could be really cool gameplay-wise, but I agree with you. I don't know if they're like, figure out the Insomniac universe first before we start throwing in other universes.
Yeah.
Sure.
I feel like also that it might just be like misinterpreting the files, like, because I feel like Insomniac in the past has referred to their Spider-Man games as like the Spider-Verse. So like, I'm almost wondering if like that's just like, you know, names for certain files.
Code name, project names, that kind of thing. Right?
Yeah, like not necessarily, the Spider-Verse game, but you know, all this stuff is in the Spider-Verse. I don't know. Because I think there was somebody else said that Spider-Man 3 was officially in production. I can't remember who sent that out. So I would find it hard to believe they're working on 3 games at the same time. But
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I'm kind of where Gage is with, like, I would like to see that gameplay wise, but I think they should just keep going with what they have right now instead of trying to branch out too soon.
well, our next story is a bit of a sad one. Free Radical has been officially closed by Embracer Group. Sad indeed, because they were revived after they had become Crytek UK for a while when Crytek owned them, and they were purchased by Embracer Group, and now they're shut down, and that means we won't get the Time Splitters reboot that we were promised, and that makes me sad. I love Time Splitters.
Super.
Fucking Embracer. But let's embrace this new gameplay trailer from Mouse that I think Gage you shared. Kind of retro, not retro, but like old cartoon style, just like Cuphead sort of.
Right.
Style.
That's the vibes I got from it. I was like, this looks like
Cool
this
shooter.
could be pretty. Yeah.
This is hold on. This is an aside, but Gage sent me a TikTok, 2 TikTok videos of this weird physics-based gameplay that looked hilarious. And his like comment was like, "This looks hilarious. What is this?" I didn't look into it any further. Did you? It was like some game where you're using like you have to control a person's like arm and legs, and like it's like a dungeon crawler.
It is. So it's like the way that it was, because this was a while ago, but I did kind of like when I found that game, I sent the clip to you, and then like I would just scroll through related videos. It seems like it's a co-op Soulsborne-esque, except instead of like but then physics based, right? So it's like super hard, and your character's moving around, and everything's only kind of half animated, everything half simulated. So if your character bumps into a table, his whole body leans over it, and you kind of have to like dodge enemies and do all this crazy hectic parrying and dodging stuff. But it looks amazing.
That's what's hilarious to me, because like an enemy like is going to hit you, and you have to like move your arm in a way to like make the sword block it. And I was like, that seems hilarious. I want to try this.
We should absolutely try this. Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Just like, yes, Florida Joker wants a bunch of money from Rockstar. It ain't happening, but here we go. I threw this in here just because of Roger Clark's comments. I thought was kind of funny. Roger Clark, of course, the voice actor behind Red Dead Redemption 2's protagonist, Arthur Morgan, he says they, implying Rockstar, are not going to talk to you. He said in a now deleted TikTok, they've had people like you try to sue them for decades. They're lawyered up, man. They know exactly what they can and cannot get away with. If I were you, I would use the notoriety that they just threw your way to your advantage. Capitalize on it somehow. You ain't getting a job at Home Depot with that face.
Jesus.
It was kind of funny, I thought.
It is. It's because here's the thing. Like, as somebody with tattoos and somebody who wants more tattoos, like, yeah, there's like a stigma for sure. But then there's also somebody like this that is kind of like taking it to the nth degree. So like, I don't know. I thought Roger Clark. I thought it was fair game for him to say that. This guy's. I think he's kind of decided to make this his whole personality, and his options are limited. So he's looking for a quick payday. But as Roger said, I don't think he's gonna get one.
Imagine, is he like a free? Is he still in jail?
I think he's in and out constantly. I don't know.
Okay. So he's okay, whatever. I just thought it was funny. I thought he was free for a second. I was like, why are you wearing an orange jumpsuit and being free? But maybe he's still in jail. But yeah, I'm with Roger Clark on this one too. And like he said, like GTA has gone through this like many times before. This wouldn't be their first rodeo. So like the Lindsay Lohan stuff, and I'm sure many other stuff before that. Yeah, they can get it.
Lindsay
They know
Lohan. Sorry, go ahead.
No, just like you said, they know what they can do. They didn't just. This wasn't an accident, is what I mean.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Lindsay Lohan might be the most well-known one, but like when they got sued by the Pinkerton Detective Agency over Red Dead 2, and they won that. So I'm thinking like, okay, if they can win that, I definitely think that's kind of like a good indication that you're not winning.
Yeah, indeed. But you know what is also not winning? Skyrim Together's modders are officially canceling their work on a multiplayer mod for Starfield, with one of them saying this game is boring. And I think that sparked some discussion. Not this specifically.
You got to read the actual quote. Oh, hold on. I'm getting okay. IGN is not just IGN is not tweeting what the actual quote was.
Full quote. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. There's just one problem. This game is fucking trash. And that is like what's obviously that's like an over generalization, like an over simplification of what an actual nuance take is of Starfield, because I don't think any of us agree that game is trash. I think probably far from it. But yeah, it did. I mean, Gage is probably the one that spent the most time in Starfield. He should probably give his take on this.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in Starfield, and I enjoyed some of my time. I did think this person's post was funny though. Like again, I don't think this person probably believes that the game is like a 0 out of 10. Obviously, I think he was just being hyperbolic for the sake of being funny, and I don't know. It worked for me for him to go through this blog post and to dramatically lead up to So you're wondering why we're not. Yeah, I don't know. I think. Are we talking about this in topic of the show, or is it just here that we're talking about this?
I think just here.
Just here? Yeah, I think there's definitely discussion to be had about Bethesda and the fact that it has such a hold on a lot of people, myself included, where we want to look past all of the red flags and kind of get that familiar, good, warm feeling from Bethesda games, but it definitely that studio definitely seems to be comfortable with tech that is, I think, behind the competition in a lot of ways. So it's unfortunate that some people, I mean, Skyrim Together is a pretty huge mod, and like I'm sure that there were some people looking to play Starfield with their friends, and that might actually help the issues of not having a lot to do. But at the same time, I mean, I could also understand the frustrations of being a modder and being like, you know what, I'm not fixing your game for you. I don't want to do this. There's not enough here. I don't feel, whatever his reasons are. So, yeah, it's disappointing on all sides, I think.
I'm at at a weird impasse where I agree but also disagree, because I spent I wouldn't say significant amount of time, but I spent some time with Starfield, and I was telling you guys even on the podcast, I'm kind of in. I enjoyed a lot of my time with it, and then I dropped off, and I was after Nakey Jakey's video, or I guess when that released, I was trying to think before I even watched it, why did I fall off of Starfield? What is the reason why? And it's just I don't think I was really engaged with it the way I thought I was. Where I was I'm meeting the game on its terms, yes, to get from A to B, but nowhere in that A to B am I enjoying myself, compared to Spider-Man, where the fundamental core of that game is traversal. So right. A to B in that game is the bread and butter. Whereas Starfield, I'm I don't care, And then to watch Nakey Jakey's video and get a lot of in-depth footage of what the quest like quest design was, or I guess lack thereof, and then like just a complete like almost abandonment of like true exploration compared to like previous Bethesda titles. It's like, yes, okay, this is why I ended up jumping off, because I didn't feel like there was anything much there for me like in that A to B, and I just kind of focused on other things.
Your use of the word engaging is actually really kind of, I think, center at all of this, in that Starfield, the things that Starfield does best is the stuff that Bethesda does best, which is world building, lore, all that stuff, making a universe that feels real, that feels lived in. Like we all said, all of us agreed when like, you go through that museum.
The museum, yeah,
exactly. You're like, this is Bethesda doing what Bethesda does best. But the problem is that it's all wrapped up in this game that like you just putting it there kind of clicked in my brain. It's not engaging in the moment to moment gameplay. Like whenever I'm playing this game, I'm motivated by like, oh cool, I'm doing this quest line, I want to go get there, but it's like a slog to get through all this and do the samey kind of gunplay and the samey kind of looting. But then I get to that quest, I'm like, cool, and then I don't know if I'm the only one that's beaten the campaign, but playing through the campaign, I'm like, normally in Skyrim or Fallout, I beat the campaign and I immediately want to go back into the wasteland, into back into Skyrim, whatever. But with this game, like I immediately put it down and I was like, there's not really, it's not engaging. It's not kind of drawing me back in.
Yeah, I think my sentiments to that are, again, I think we've talked about in the past that the handcrafted elements to the world building that Bethesda is known for isn't quite there because of it being so procedurally generated, reliant, and I think that's also evident why I came back from vacation, played that game for a few hours, and never went back. I still haven't fucking gone back, which, you know, granted, I haven't finished a lot of games lately, but if that was a traditional Fallout game or a traditional Elder Scrolls game, I feel like I'd be putting a ton of hours into it, and I'm just not doing that. Not to say I won't go back to it, but yeah, very telling.
And they're going to keep updating it, so, you know, who's to say down the line? Best ongoing game in 2024, Starfield, you know, I don't know.
Right.
Who knows?
Right.
Can't be worse than this year's, right?
It's anybody's game now. Clearly, after this year, that award is anyone's game.
Yeah.
Just release a patch.
Yeah.
You
Just
might get on
patch
the
it.
list.
Exactly.
God of War Ragnarok is now an ongoing game.
Congratulations, God of War Ragnarok 2024 Game Awards.
Chris Judge goes up for another speed.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Get him off the stage.
Oh, God. Well, one more thing we want to get off the stage. The Day Before is officially one of the worst video games of all time, as the player count dropped almost 90% in 4 days. The developer put out a statement that, quite frankly, I'm not going to read because it's fucking bullshit. And then we also got more information that Fantastic, who's the developer, is changing all of their other games on Steam to different companies. So all of their previous games, they're just changing to random company names for, you know, reasons that are mysterious, except for they are just, yeah. And also, lastly, the CEO of Fantastic has been nuked by himself. He deleted his Twitter account. Gone. So, yeah.
There's a YouTube video I used early this week. I guess today's Wednesday. Yeah, Monday. That I watched on Monday to help me get like caught up to speed on like what else was happening. Because obviously I saw the statement, but like I want to know what else was like happening before and like leading up to release and then after. The video, like the headline was called "The Scam Before." The videos from Level Cap Gaming, and the thing that got me was I didn't know how reliant they were on like assets bought from, is it Unreal?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, which is which is fine, like whatever. But like, it was mostly just those assets, and then compare that to the person on Twitter now who is like in real time making the game from scratch on their free time, and they're on day 31 and already have like systems built into the game that the day before didn't even have, like melee combat, which is, and that really put into perspective. And like this game would took like a few years to make, and already there's like substantial like comparisons you're able to make now, which is just crazy. Like, yeah, there is something deeply fishy going on here that this does not say. Like, they sold this game and are like probably taking some of the profit.
Right. Yeah. This game definitely was not being made until at the last second it was. I think is very much what it looks like. If you look at some of the old, because for whatever reason, I don't know why, but I've been following this game for like years now and just kind of paying attention. I remember they came out with this opening trailer that obviously had all these grand promises where it was this open world survival game and the shooting combat looks like the Division, and the stealth and the character animations looked like The Last of Us, but then they got into a car and they were driving off road and it had the driving physics of mud runners, and it was very clearly you're doing way too many things. There's no way you're doing all of this well, and now it's clear to see that there's no way that you were doing any of it at all. So yeah, I suspect specifically because of this person on Twitter that we're talking about, of how they're only like a month into it, a little over a month into it, and they've been able to replicate the majority of the game. I suspect that they probably weren't working on this game at all, and this is probably a cash grab or a scam. Everybody's calling it a scam. I think it probably was a scam, which is strange because the first game that Fantastic made, which was called The Wild 8. And I actually bought that like years ago before I knew what Fantastic was, before any of us. I picked that game up on Steam, and it actually felt like a real game. So they've kind of, I don't know what happened somewhere along the way. Somebody got a bright idea. They hired like a Jordan Belfort or something like that. I don't know what happened, but this is crazy. This is probably one of the biggest scam incidents in the gaming industry of recent memory, and it'll be interesting to see how Steam responds to all this.
Yeah.
They deleted, they made it unavailable to purchase, right, on Steam right now.
Right.
And
yes.
So we'll see if they're like going to issue refunds. I think they were talking about that, people who bought it, which I think is fair. But yeah, these stories that we have all together were just like coming out day after day after day. It just like kept piling on. So it was really interesting to watch. And like you said, Gage, it'll be interesting to see where this all ends up. And the CEO, like, talk about a way to just never work in the industry again, like just shooting himself in the leg for no reason. But yeah, besides getting money, I guess.
All right. Well, into the PXN news of the week, guys. In case you guys didn't see here, I put a link to IGN's article of all the announcements at the Game Awards. And I just thought that we could maybe go round robin talking about our top 5 favorite announcements from the Game Awards, which I'll go first to give you guys time to look. If yes, Christian, yes, sir.
Real quick, after we do, we go over our favorites. Do you think this is a good time to place our first half of our predictions results with the reveals?
That's true. Yeah, we could do that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. So to give Gage some time, because it looks like he's got nothing written there yet, I'm gonna go.
I don't have 5. 5's too much.
Okay.
That wasn't. I don't think there was 5 things in total. That I was crazy
that's
about,
fair.
But
No, that's
I
fair.
can give you some. Yeah.
That's fair. And if there's any that are not crossing what everyone else has already put, then that's great too. But if you have stuff that crosses, that's fine as well. So don't stress yourself if you see the ones that you want or that we've already written here. That's fine.
Right.
All right. My first one that I was super jazzed about, that I know you guys were like, what the fuck, Dan? Come on. It's fucking, Saber Interactive's Jurassic Park survival game. That is literally the game I've been wanting for fucking decades. Literally. I think it was it last year or 3 years ago, whenever it was, that they announced Jurassic Park Evolution 2 at the Game Awards, and I started by freaking out because they had like a closer perspective, and I was like, oh, this is going to be sick. This is going to be what I wanted. And then it's the City Builder Part 2. This is actually a fucking action adventure, first person action adventure game set in the Jurassic Park universe the day after the first movie ends, which is fucking awesome. And you're playing as the scientist that is basically left on the island by herself, and she's trying to figure out, like, I guess, how to survive and get off the island. But yeah, the tone of the trailer I really liked. It, like Gage said on stream, it looks literally like the first movie, which is so cool. So I'm very excited to see what Saber does with this.
This is the one where I thought was privately I DM'd the group thinking it was a co-op game, and it seems like it's going to be a single player game.
Yes, very excited. Ro, what got your fancy?
My first one is from Don't Nod, The Lost Records, Bloomin' Rage. So it's I think it's the first game from Don't Nod Montreal, which is a new studio from the people who made Life is Strange. From people who made Life is Strange, they added some new people as well, some new talent, of course. But I love Life is Strange, love that series, so I'm excited to see something else by those people that isn't Life is Strange, but still has, that stories, narrative-driven, choices matter sort of gameplay. So I'm looking forward to that. It looks cool. Looks like it's got that cringy angst that I like. So I'm down for it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I actually thought it was Life is Strange at first, and then you're like, oh, it's new. Like,
Oh yeah.
Very cool though.
Remember
Christian?
True Colors.
Oh god, can never forget. So good. So
Good one.
Christian.
Yeah, of course, my first one is OD, which is obviously not like the actual name of the game. Kojima likes to do like working titles for these reveals. Why I placed this one first when we have so little to go on? I think because like in terms of importance, this is like huge for Xbox. Like one, it's Kojima is doing a game just for them. What game, quote unquote? I don't know, whatever it's gonna be. But one, it's a project just for them. Two, you're pulling in like the cachet of like an auteur like Jordan Peele, who is like massive right now. To work on a project like this is absolutely massive. But three, it's a cloud game, which I think is going to be interesting to see how that does for like worldwide. A lot of places in Europe like don't have really good internet. Like, how is that going to affect players who are like trying to get their hands on this, who are like wanting to try this out? Is that going to like hinder their experience compared to like US audiences? I think that's going to be like really weigh in how people see the game. But also like, again, the new era of Xbox, like trying to branch out to like have more Japanese partners, right? We just saw like Hi-Fi Rush, which I think is a big one that got the like colors at the Game Awards. Like, what else can Xbox pull to their own like marketplace? And you can get the likes of Kojima. Does that open doors for like other people who are like, okay, well, if Kojima has like a great experience working with Xbox studios, like, can that now bring in more people to like do projects just for them? I think this game has a lot like riding, not just on like Kojima's productions, but also Xbox. So that's where I'm at.
I hope this game isn't a cloud only game, because I feel like it wasn't quite clear if it's going to be a cloud only game or it's powered by the cloud, if that makes sense. Like,
oh, gotcha. Okay.
So
I remember when. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, we might have been saying the same thing, but like, there's, in my mind, powered by the cloud kind of means like this is maybe a bad example because the game didn't do well. But I remember Crackdown 3 in their multiplayer mode, they were using cloud technology to have this crazy city, this crazy destruction on a city scale, and they did that by having the client side do certain things and the Xbox do certain things, and then the server take some of the heavy lifting as well. So I'm hoping that when Kojima says powered by the cloud, that it's that type of thing where it's still a game you can sit down and play, but maybe they're doing things that the console itself can't do. So there's dipping into Microsoft's vast resources of cloud technology, try and bring it up to spec, as opposed to, hey, we've made a game and you can play it on your mobile phone and or stream it to your console and that's it. I would be a little bit less excited for that, I think.
Sure.
What?
I forgot. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, but an antithesis to myself, I think Kojima was making it seem like this isn't a traditional game. It seems like it's going to be like an interactive movie sort of experience.
Thing.
Yeah, which would make sense that it would be a cloud-only game then at that point, because you're just basically watching a movie and interacting with it. So, I don't know.
I forgot to mention too, it's exciting that like people are insane, and so is Kojima, for hiding the like kanji characters inside Udo Kidder's mouth, spelling out what translates to Quiet Hill or Silent Hill. Obviously, it's not a Silent Hill game, but that tells you a lot about like the tone and what kind of like things they're aiming to do with this project. And it's very much like whatever feelings Kojima had for his project on PT, that was going to be Silent Hill. He's still kind of holding on to those ideas, and I think some of those might be present in OD, which I think for me as a fan of Kojima, as a fan of Silent Hill, is going to be exciting.
Oh yeah. Gage, what are you excited?
The first pick here, and my next two picks are doubles for yours, so this will be my only thing, and I'll just jump in with your next ones. But Light No Fire from Sean Murray's team, Hello Games. Very, very excited for this. I did not play No Man's Sky at launch. I had a bad feeling about it. The game came out, and I was like, "Yeah, okay, I'm just gonna sit back." But friend of the show, Brandon, got me into it a couple of years ago. This is well after they had not only fixed the game, but then added to it in an incredible way. And No Man's Sky is an incredible experience unlike any other. And what Sean Murray did with that game, great time to talk about it in light of this the day before nonsense. What Sean Murray did with that game, with failing to deliver on promises, and then probably against the judgment of those closest to him, decides, no, I'm going to stick through this. I'm going to work it out. Come hell or high water, we're going to work on this game. And they've created something truly special. I mean, I've not played Star Citizen. I know Star Citizen is also a pretty incredible game on a technical scale, but there's very few games that I can think of where you can jump to a solar system, and any planet that you see in that solar system, you can literally fly to it and just cut through the atmosphere, land, harvest a bunch of resources, build a giant town, leave for like months on end, come back, and everything's right where you left it. Somehow it works. I don't know how, but somehow it all works. So for him to come and show this game where it's one giant world that's procedurally generated, that's a shared world that people can come in and play with. That sounds awesome to me. I mean, that sounds great. I love the idea of squatting up with 5 or 6 friends and constructing this giant village and then going exploring. They said that they've got giant oceans in the game and massive mountains to climb. And after playing No Man's Sky, again, all that controversy is well behind them because the tech is there in No Man's Sky now. So if they can simulate entire universes, I'm sure that they can do this one planet, and it'll be really cool to finally play a game that does have one giant Earth-sized world that can have a bunch of people running around on it. It sounds great to me. I can't wait to see what Sean Murray's cooking up with this one.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but in Starfield, not Starfield. I did it. No Man's Sky.
Right.
In No Man's Sky, when you like travel to a new system that no one has ever been to before, and you scan a planet or an animal on a certain planet that no one has ever scanned before, you can log it as like the first of its kind, and then that will show up for like every other player that this is like now registered. The first person to do that was you, and you can name it whatever. I think that's the case, right?
Yes. Not only does it give you credit as the person who named it, but whatever you decide to name that animal, if somebody scans it, like imagine you're playing Lethal Company, somebody scans it, that is just what the name comes up. So yes, we have named very inappropriate looking monsters after our friends. So when people years from now decide to fly to that planet, if they make it there, they'll see Sheldon Sausage as this little worm-like creature that's digging through the ground when they scan it. Yes, it's absolutely hilarious and amazing.
Considering how big No Man's Sky is, granted, I don't know if Light No Fire will be like just as big. Maybe the world is like a lot bigger, even though it's one world. I wonder if they'll still have like that system where like you discover like a certain cave system in a mountain, and now you can like name this cave system whatever like you discovered it as. Chances are like you might be able to just stumble upon that like theoretically, I guess in my head, easier than you would like stumble across like some distant planet.
Right. That would be great.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
That would be very cool. I mean, I would like to assume that they will do that. That they'll bring the best features forward from No Man's Sky, and in which case that would be awesome. You come across a cave and it's got some memey name to it, right? And it doesn't matter that the name's silly. I mean, you still have to go into that cave and do whatever you have to do. Like it's just Hello Games. They've made this game, and hopefully this next game, where it feels like a community game. Like it actually feels like you're playing a game where other players are there, and you're not just kind of all in this preset world and going through the same paces, but you're in a world that's made by other people.
All right, I'm in. I'll try this. I'll try it.
I did play No Man's Sky at launch, and I really did like it. Like I almost platinumed it in like the first month. I never.
Oh
got
wow!
it.
Holy shit! I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was pretty close. I can check and see how many trophies I missed. But I really liked that game even at launch. But like as Gage was saying, it was not what they promised at all.
Sure.
And it's good that they were able to update it, and I hope that this is able to deliver on those past promises. And it just is really good, because I wrote consciously in brackets because it's on my list too, because I feel like he didn't do the smart thing when he was up there, where he like, this is ambitious. I can't wait for everybody to play. It's like, oh, you should have just like undersold it, over delivered when it was here. But we'll see. I'm excited still too.
Can I just kind of throw something else in? Just a quick opinion. I played the game I tried it in 2019. And even though I didn't quite care for like base building and stuff like that's just not really my cup of tea, I will say everything like Gage and Road talked about, like, oh my god, so sublime, like popping a gummy and like just traveling the stars, opening photo mode, traveling to a new planet. Like this is like cool. Like, I can't believe like it works now. They did this. That's cool.
When you build a gameplay mechanic that just works, it doesn't get tiring. Like coming in from space to landing to a planet and cutting through the clouds, it doesn't. Sure, it's not this crazy jaw-dropping moment, but it never gets old. Like it does feel cool every single time you do it.
Yeah.
You know, I was a little skeptical at first when, Sean was first showing this, because my main problems with No Man's Sky was the lack of narrative and the lack of, just like Starfield, the lack of desire to go to all these thousands of worlds that it generates and such. The tech was awesome, landing on planets and that kind of stuff. But the more we talk about it, the more you guys talk about it on, the stream and here, I think you're absolutely right. Like I think that the fact that this is a multiplayer game, whereas No Man's Sky was more positioned as a single player game, I think that will be the difference for me. Just squatting up with you guys or whoever and having a good time on these planets. I think that'll be pretty neat.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. All right. My second one is Archetype Entertainment's Exodus. I thought it looked very cool. I thought it looked very Mass Effect-esque, which of course the lead writer is the lead writer from the original Mass Effect, Drew Karpyshyn. I don't know how to say his name, but they already have a massive amount of backstory that Shinobi 602, of course, Shinobi, everybody knows him, on Twitter, he kind of summarized it all. I'm not going to go through all this because it's a shitload, but it's already got a ton of really cool world building going on with the story background that they've discussed here, which sounds really awesome. And I know the trailer was just CG and, obviously cautiously optimistic in terms of that. I hope that the game actually looks and feels like, what that CG trailer was like positioning it as. But so far I'm very much intrigued by this game. And bro, what else? What else?
My next one is Big Walk, which was that like hiking game, I think, where you were the cartoony birds in this realistic world. That just looked like fun. For the same reason that I liked No Man's Sky, actually, just like exploring a big world, but this one with friends, and it looked goofy. Looks like a goofy time. So I like just vibing out very chill experience. It seemed like, so I'm excited to see more about that. That was 2025. I feel like it was a year,
Yep.
an extra year out. So that's
Yes.
gonna have to wait a little while, but I'm excited to see more about it.
Absolutely.
that's awesome.
I will be playing this one with you for sure. This looks
Hell
looks hilarious.
Yeah, Dan was the only one who wasn't jazzed about it. I saw this and I was like, fuck yes, this looks great.
Right.
Yeah, next game from House. This is second on my list as well. And for the exact same reasons Ro listed, like if 2023 taught me anything, it's that like there is so much fun to be had in games that are quirky. I think about like BattleBit Remastered, like role playing on those bridges where like, hold on, brother, or like playing Lethal Company and just like, just having a good time with the lads. And this game like built around like the pitch for this game in the opening seconds of the trailer is a new video game for you and your friends. And then it shows like it cuts to like the quirky birds and like, okay, this is a game just about being silly. Untitled Goose Game, entirely built around being silly, but this with a co-op and built around like some like interesting looking like map with like a cool art design. Yeah, of course I'm in.
Hell yeah.
I'll let you guys eat. Christian. Oh, I guess that was your next one as
big
well.
walk.
Okay. What? Gage?
I'm gonna be stealing one from you if I go next.
That's fine. Do it.
All right. From the people that made Ori comes a trailer for a game that looks absolutely gorgeous, and the vibe check is passed in flying colors. It's called No Rest for the Wicked, and it just looks absolutely stunning. Rashan actually brought up a really good point. I didn't connect it immediately, but as soon as you said it, it kind of clicked, where it has this almost arcane kind of art style where even though it's everything's 3D, it has this kind of hand-painted, almost oil painting kind of look to it, or acrylic painting. I don't know what you'd call it, but it just, oh man, I was taken by it. And the fact that it's a Diablo kind of like action role-playing game is I have a hankering for that kind of game. I tried to get into Diablo 4. That was my first big Diablo. Dan and you and I played it quite a bit. We had a good time with it, but it's so much. And I'm hoping that this is a brand new universe. It's the first entry in a franchise, maybe, or maybe it's a one-off game. This just seems like my cup of tea. And the fact that it's coming to PC in early access in Q1 2024 is exciting because that means I won't have to wait
Holy
long
shit!
to get my grubby little hands on it.
This game could not be any more different than Ori, which is their last games. Like that's so cool.
That's what I was gonna bring up. Is like they made two like 2D Metroidvania platformers, and both of them are like widely considered to be like one of the greatest Metroidvanias like made. Like they nailed it. Like Ori is like actually fantastic. So them moving into like an action RPG space, but still keeping like their unique style. Like I think this might be like aspects of this. Not everything might be hand drawn, but like still stuff from this is hand drawn. I think.
Right.
But with like just like a core focus on like map design, level design, and then combat. Like, dude, that's it. That's all you need. I'm in. You sold me from the jump. So yeah, I'm with you guys.
Yeah,
that's a really good way to. Go ahead.
I was just so this literally is like a stylized like fucking perfect Diablo esque type game. Like the stylized design definitely throws you for a loop when you see like Diablo and you're like, oh my god, this is hyper realistic versus this is very stylized. But I love how how much it contrasts with Diablo in that aspect. Like I really like. Yeah, I like how this game feels and looks. Not feels, but like feels like emotions.
Right.
Yeah.
They're stepping into somebody else's genre, but you could not mistake the two in terms of them keeping their own identity.
Yeah.
And what Christian was saying earlier, there's something that gets me really excited about a studio that like shows that they can master a genre, and then the next game they announce is something completely different. Like, there's no guaranteed reason that next game will be as good, but there's something to me where it's like, wow, you guys could have just kept playing it safe and could have kept doing the thing that you're doing. But when I see a major switch up like this, for some reason I get excited when a studio does something like this. And yeah, it's very, very hyped.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah. And that is my third one as well. No Rest for the Wicked. So, moving on from No Rest for the Wicked, Ro, what else you got?
My next one is Kemuri from Unseen. It's their first game coming out. So it was a little teaser. It was like a CGI trailer, and it looks like it's like a demon slaying sort of game. I thought the art style was really cool. I just been following Ikumi Nakamura, I think is her name, since she did that like cute little thing at E3, and her Tokyo Ghostwire Tokyo was the game I think she worked on before starting her own studio. And ever since then, I've been like following her as she opened Unseen in Tokyo and just kind of following her and what she's working on. And I think she has some really cool, like, she just seems like a really wholesome person. She brought her daughter to the Game Awards. She's always interviewing her staff and like spotlighting them. So I've been liking her vibe so far. So I'm excited to see what this is. Obviously, it's a CGI trailer. We don't know. They don't even have a publisher yet, I don't think. So this was like an advertisement for them, basically.
I was gonna say, a new studio with their first game, and like, there's probably realistically, there's probably like no gameplay yet. Like, this is just proof of concept for what they want to do, and like, there's like no game made just yet. But like, if they have a vision, like what I'm seeing as the proof of concept is already like enough for me to like be interested. So hopefully, if I'm interested, so are publishers, and they're able to get it made.
Yeah, I don't think she'll have trouble finding.
Sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's it all I have to say. It looks fun. I would watch this as a movie, so I'm sure I will hopefully play this as a game if the gameplay is good.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that was really cool seeing the behind the scenes, how that trailer was put together. That was pretty neat. All right, Christian.
Kimura's. I'll throw in. Okay, my last one is Hellblade's latest trailer was cool. Unfortunate that there's no hard date for that game yet, because of how often we've seen this game and still have had no date on it. But I respect Ninja Theory so much for like the fidelity they're pumping out of this game is absolutely nuts. I love Hellblade 1. I thought the combat was maybe not great, but it was still like good and engaging enough for what that game was for me to like, it was great. It's good. But like for me, it was like the narrative that like really pulled me in, and the way they played with sound design was so cool. That game alone sold me on whatever Ninja Theory will do next, and seeing this trailer and like again, trying to understand how all of it is in engine is still mind-boggling to me because everything looks so good. This is one that I can't wait for as well.
Dude, watching this trailer with headphones on, really good, really good. But yeah, disappointing that we didn't get a more solid release date than just 2024. I really was thinking that it was going to be at least the first 6 months of 2024, but yeah. Hopefully soon we get to play this. Which that was one of mine as well. I'll just throw that out there. I don't have to talk about it. Gage. Take us in.
You want me to steal your last one?
Yes. Steal it.
All right, I'll do it.
Steal it.
From the good Arcane Leon, comes a game that to me seems like the perfect match of IP and video game studio. I remember a couple years back, maybe it was last year, but there was a Twitter trend going around where it's like, pick an IP, pick a studio, right? This never came up, but this is peanut butter and chocolate. Arcane Leon is making a Blade game, and my god, that sounds amazing. I just immediately thought back to me playing Dishonored for the first time, which has a mix of melee combat and range combat and supernatural powers. And now they're making a game about a vampire that uses melee combat, range combat, and has supernatural powers. And yeah, I'm very, very excited. Learning that I don't think touched on this at the Game Awards. Maybe they did. Maybe it was a blink and you miss it moment. But I found out afterwards that it's a third-person game, which is very, very interesting. Because Arcane obviously is known for doing first-person games, so it'll be interesting to see how that feels. But I mean, what they've demonstrated so far, what they've been able to do with fast and fluid combat, is nothing short of amazing. So I am very, very excited for this game. I've got very high hopes, and I'm not worried even a little bit. I think that they're going to cook up something real special.
Yeah, I had this on my list as well, Gage, and I think a lot of the points that you said I agree with as well. The interesting thing to me is that Arcane Leon made Deathloop, which came out in September 2021, and when they announced Blade was in development, they said that it was just starting development, which is interesting. So it's almost like I'm wondering if Leon was like, piddling around and figuring out if they wanted to make another Dishonored game or what, started doing like some prototypes, and maybe none of those worked out, and then they I guess reached out to Marvel and worked on this Blade idea. But yeah, in terms of this actual idea, I very much am in agreement that it sounds very cool. Obviously we're not going to see this game for a while probably, since it's just starting development, but that the premise sounds really cool, and third person, I agree, sounds very very cool for this character as well. Yeah, I'm intrigued, and it's the good Arcane, so they only put out good games, right?
Well, that's subjective.
That's true. It is subjective, I agree, but critically they usually do pretty well.
Yes.
All right. Bro, what else you got?
Yeah, my last one is The Last Sentinel. This is another just only CGI trailer, but I thought it looked cool. It's a cool proof of concept, as we keep saying. It was the one where it was like the robots were also taking care of these orphans, it looked like, in this room, and the cop came in and shot the one of them, and then she was like, the demon is here. And apparently that was good news, because this badass biker lady came and saved all the kids and said, follow me. And apparently it's an open world action game from Lightspeed Studios. I think Lightspeed Studios they were saying some ex Naughty Dog people there. I could be wrong, could be mixing it up with somebody else. I believe that's what it said, and it's narrative focused as well, so it seemed cool. It seemed like one of those games that I wish certain games that are coming out were, but they keep doing the open world games of service way instead of the open world action adventure narrative driven thing that I want to see more of. So I'm hoping that this is good when the gameplay comes out, but I like the vibes of it so far.
Hell yeah. And Christian, I think we already did.
I'm done. Yeah, I've got no more.
Ro, did you talk about Zal?
I didn't actually. I liked the gentleman that came up. I'm obviously forgetting his name now, but he had a pretty emotional speech when he was talking about his late father passing away, and how this was kind of like a game to remember him. And it's like a side-scrolling action game, I believe. And the description says, reclaim your father's spirit. So obviously it sounds like it's going to be as emotional as his speech, but the gameplay looked like it was pretty fun. It looked like it was like a Metroidvania sort of game too, with what I saw. So pretty cool.
I totally forgot about this game until you mentioned it, and I just scrolled down to remember. And yes, this was awesome. This was the game that was very much like Ori that I thought. I agree with you. I think it looks really neat. So yeah, I think I'll be in on this game as well, Ro.
Yeah, the bosses looked really cool, and that's when I saw that I was like, oh shit, no, I want to play this. This looks awesome.
Hell yeah. Just to throw one honorable mention, I guess. But I just thought this was fascinating that Sega announced 5 new games in one trailer, and they're just like, yeah, here's a bunch of old IP, and we're making new games for all of them. So Jet Set Radio, Shinobi, Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, Crazy Taxi, and more, it says. are all coming back. So
This is great news.
yeah, bit wild there. Is there any other ones that you guys want to cover? I just figure we'll just, the main ones we've talked about, plus any others you want to add.
Yes, actually, I forgot about one.
Sure.
Apparently, God of War Ragnarok Valhalla has like a substantial amount of story included, and it is very cool that they just decided to drop this as a free DLC. And given how like much there is, like apparently, like it adds like a lot to the actual base game. It's considered an epilogue to the events of Ragnarok, and it's like I heard it's like as backwards looking as much as like to the original God of War trilogy. So I'm very interested, and I downloaded it. I don't know when I'll have time to play it, but I did download it to check it out eventually.
How much does that cost, Christian?
$0. I guess as much as your internet provider costs per month.
I was laying it up for you, letting you dunk it in. You dunked it in. Boom. All right. Any others that you guys want to talk about before we move on here? All right. Moving on to our fantasy draft check-in. And if you're watching video, you can see me smiling because we didn't see Hollow Knight Silksong announced. So Christian, the countdown is on. 17 days remaining.
And I forgot to do my drop over the weekend. So my backup plan is like I can't do it anymore because we're pickups process on Saturdays, and the game that I was going to pick up comes out this week.
Is there anything else that even comes out the rest of the year?
I've been looking for the past 10 minutes to see what else comes out, and there's a few, but like none that I really want to like stake any bets on per se.
I mean, what do you have to lose though? You don't have anything to lose.
Points, Dan.
Well, yeah, but you need points. So you're in this dichotomy of you could either stay put or you could go up, or you could go down. But going down's not going to hurt you.
We'll see, man. We'll see.
We'll see. Christian needs 10 points to tie. Will he get there? I don't know.
We'll see, man. Fuck.
All right. Moving in to what you got for me. Dan, what you got for me? I have played a bit more Alan Wake 2. I had a segment of time last week. I played for another 2 to 3 hours. Still very much enjoying the narrative in that game, despite how fucking insane it is. But yes, I feel like the further this game goes on, the more I am enjoying it, and the more layers get peeled back, and the narrative keeps getting better. I'll say that. And I think my original gripes about the case board, Christian, when I was telling you about this, it getting a little monotonous. I think it gets a little better over time when you start figuring out the nuance of it. It does still get a little tedious having to find the spots that they go in, but I feel like now I have a pretty good grasp on it.
No, the thing for me is like I respect how much like Sam Lake and the team like envisioned for that aspect of Saga Anderson. Like that game wants you to meet it on its own terms. Like, is it annoying to have to figure out on the board where things are going? Maybe. But to me, it's only at face value. For me, like what makes it cool is like, no, okay, what is the game wanting me to do? It is wanting me to position myself in the shoes of Saga Anderson at this very moment and think about what is happening relative to the actual like events of the game and the actual events of like whatever like mystery I'm solving for that thing. So I have to like literally zoom out and take a look at my board and see, okay, how does this new piece of evidence fit into everything else that I've been doing with my time so far, and then from there I go. And then when you place it on there, either Saga will comment or she'll make a deduction, or even if it's just nothing, you can still hover over and it'll be written there like her thoughts on what's going on, and that will always add like to the actual thing, like holistically, whatever it is you're piecing together. To me, I was like, yeah, this is cool, like a cool way to like do world building without like just picking up a note and doing a reading. Like I'm actually playing like the deduction that she's doing, which is just, to me, I think is really cool.
Yeah, agreed. it's kind of replacing like that collectible that you find in the world that it adds to the world. It's replacing that kind of thing. Yeah. And,
Yeah,
or audio logs or, all the other
sure.
normal video game tropes. Christian, I do have one question. How often did you switch back and forth between Alan and Saga?
That is so funny you said that because I did a guide for DualShockers that is like, when should you switch, the most optimal way to do this. I'll tell you right now, usually it was at the end of like a significant chapter when you hit like an end of part segment, and then it feels like kind of like a hard stop, like, okay, I'll switch to the other person now.
Cool. Okay. I wanted to know that. Good info.
Dan, I forgot to go over the reveals predictions. When do you want to do that?
Oh shit, I forgot. Yeah, you're right.
We'll do that during topic of the show. We'll do it during topic of the show.
Okay. Sorry, I forgot you said that. I also played the finals with these two fine gentlemen, Christian and Gage. Ro, you are also a fine gentleman, but it was just us three
But you
playing.
were not present.
Wow. Thank you.
But yeah, we had a lot of fun with the finals, and it shadow dropped, of course. At the Game Awards, we didn't talk about that in the announcements, but it shadow dropped and was available now. Christian called that very good. And the game is still a lot of fun. The beta was a lot of fun, and it is still a banging time. There's a lot of crazy shit that goes on in that game, and I love it. You're swinging from the rooftops from your grapple gun, from the little guys that run like 700 miles an hour to your big guys that have hammers and fire, and it's insane. Buildings crumbling. It's awesome. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Should we get into final discourse now, Gage? Should we jump in on Dan's final?
Let's do it. Yeah, let's all jump in.
Jump
I want to say this before I forget, because it came to me when the last time that the three of us played this game, and I'm connecting the dots now in my brain. And what Christian just said about 2023 being the year of fun with the lads, this feels like a game that has a AAA level of AAA, whatever that means nowadays, level of polish to it. But the core concept of the game is still a no-frills competitive shooter, crazy over-the-top action, just having fun with the boys. And this, it feels so good to play. Like Dan's, I don't know if you mentioned before in the show, but I know we talked about this in private, is that this is from ex-Battlefield devs. And although it's an Unreal Engine, they've done quite an interesting job here of making this feel like a Frostbite game. Like, if you were to just put this in my hands and I didn't know anything about it, I would assume that this is Frostbite, but it's not. And the way that they've been able to not only replicate destruction, but I think even take it further than how it was in Battlefield, that in any way that I can remember, because in this game, the networking is so fast, it's so smooth, that like when you have you have to cash out these little cash boxes and put them in this little machine, wait for the timer to come down, and that's how you score your point. But if that thing that you're waiting for it to score the point on happens to be at a rooftop and somebody takes out the building below it, it'll fall with it and it'll kind of get lost in the rubble, and you have to crouch and worm your way through the rubble to try and steal it or to try and defend it. The game just it's not trying to do a whole lot of things, but the things that it is doing, it does extremely well. Christian, I don't know if you want to jump in. What are your thoughts on this?
So the thing for me about the finals is I've been recently looking at a lot of different games for like a project I'm doing on like video game design philosophy.
Right.
And one thing I've kind of settled on is like a lot of modern games are trying to do a lot of things and trying to be a lot of things. The finals is very much like these 2 or 3 specific things, and Gage is right. It does all of them so well. The thing for me, like what differentiates the finals between like other projects that I've played, is like it very clearly has its own identity. Is it another shooter? Yes, but it is a shooter that is doing something on its own terms. Like I am engaging with the mechanics of that game the way it wants me to. Like it has a clear identity with the way like I pick out my guns and like my I guess my classes with like the reserve system and the gadgets. Where like using these specific gadgets is like going to fundamentally change the way I'm engaging with my enemies and the stage that I'm playing on. And that kind of stuff takes a game so far where I'm like, now I'm even thinking about like the gameplay when I'm just going through the menus, which is a thing that I did with like an Armored Core. Like the Armored Core game continues when I'm in the menus. Same thing for me in the finals where I'm looking at my gadgets and like, this is going to, choosing between the turret and the health beam is going to fundamentally change whether we win the next game or not. And the game modes themselves are like, yes, this clearly like is doing its own thing. That 3v3v3 with like the cash box like buyout things. Like this is so clear its own thing that no other game is doing right now. Free to play. Sure, is the battle pass like a little bit like kind of like, yeah, they're trying to get some money out of you. Whatever. As long as I don't pay money for that. This is like insane. That like the amount of fun I'm getting is like huge, and I had so much fun, and it feels so good, dude. Where I'm like, us three were playing games or the other day, and we just had a moment where like, this is fun. Like this is like an actually like such a fun game. They did it.
They did.
And talking about that healing beam, you better make sure you heal Christian as soon as you pick him up because you'll hear about.
Listen,
I kept forgetting. I kept forgetting. You were warranted in telling me that.
Because if one of us goes down, we all go down.
Yeah.
And we're fucked.
Yes, you're right.
And like
Very
bring up
keen.
that game mode, like this game launches, there's only 2 game modes, and you could argue the second one that we don't really play is you've seen it in a lot of other games before. As you kill people, they drop coins and you can bank it and you keep getting more and more, and then you have to make sure that you make it to a drop off point. But like the core game mode that it launched with is something that is like pretty unique to this game. Like it's crazy how much this game doesn't rely on its competitors, and it's just doing its own thing, like Christian said. And like even stuff that I thought would be gimmicky beforehand, like the destruction. Like I think back to Battlefield 4, and like the game came out, everybody was messing around with the destruction. But then as you play the game, you kind of get to a point where you don't want it to happen because you're trying to do something or X, Y, Z. Whereas in the finals, the destruction is such a core element of the game where it's like, if you're the one defending, you're constantly building up your defenses and trying to keep whatever building you're in intact. And if you're the one trying to attack, you're constantly thinking about, how do I take this down? How can I find my way in there? And the fact that the game doesn't force that on you, that's just how you end up thinking, means that is it's a core element of the gameplay that deserves to be there because it's not forced. It's not like Christian said, you're playing the game as the game wants you to, and you don't even realize you're doing it. It's just that's the best way to play it. So like the devs of this game, they deserve a lot of credit for this. Like I know it's had its controversy, but this game is really something special in the shooter space right now. And yeah, I can't help it. Like there's a smile on my face every time I play it. It is.
Yeah.
And like I think about playing when I jump into play Call of Duty and even Halo sometimes. You have a few bad matches and you're frustrated, you want to turn it off. But the finals, whether you're winning or losing, like the matches are so dynamic each time that like very rarely do you play a match that's just bad. Usually there's like peaks and valleys in every single match you play, and that's really rare for a first person shooter nowadays.
I'll say this, like one of my favorite memories from playing a couple days ago is when us three were squatted up, and it was like we were playing that game where like you need to capture this box twice, and that's how you get the win. And it was tied up, and it was like down to the wire where like Dan had revived me. The building is crumbling. I'm crouch hiding from enemies. I'm healing Gage because Gage is stealing the box, and Dan is protecting Gage by like getting into like a firefight. And somebody is shooting at Gage, and I'm yelling, "Keep going, keep going, keep going!" because I'm healing Gage as he's stealing. And it came down to the wire, and he got it, and we won. And like that is something that happens every single game. Stuff like that happens all the time. Like it does not get old. Cool stuff.
Very cool stuff.
Yes, indeed. Ro, we saved this one for you to just have your day right here. There's another game that we all played.
I'm just going to mention another game before I do this one.
That's
so
fair.
we could all talk about it. But I've been playing Pokemon again. The DLC for Part 2, the Indigo Disc comes out tomorrow. And I didn't realize I had to play Part 1. Silly me. To play Part 2. So I've been going through that to make sure I'm ready for Part 2. Because Part 1 didn't look super interesting to me, but Part 2 did. So I have to play this to play the one that I thought was cool. But it's fun. I'm enjoying it. I still stand by the fact if it wasn't for all the bugs, this would easily be the best Pokemon game. But unfortunately, it still has all the bugs. They did not fix it. But yeah, still having a good time with it. But Lethal Company, I finally got to play with the gents here. This game is pretty fun. Unfortunately, I'm not very very good at PC games, but I did have a good time playing with you guys. I think the concept of it like is a fun loop, like just trying to pay off your debts, but going into these creepy places trying to get all these items to sell to. I guess is the monster the person that you're trying to pay off your debts to? Is he the boss, or is this just a guy that also works for the company or something? I don't know. But anyways, that doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
but,
who knows? But yeah.
But yeah, it's a fun loop. There's still a lot that I need to learn about it, like maybe learning how to play keyboard and mouse. But yeah, I enjoy it. I enjoyed it a lot.
How about that trap that we put you in, Ro, and made you ring the bell for the dude to pick up all the stuff we were selling?
I should have known. And maybe it was because I was playing with you guys, but it wasn't scary to a place where it was unplayable for me. Like I could play this game, and maybe it was because we're on easier maps. Like for my first time, maybe you guys went on some easier maps for that, and it gets creepier as you go on. But I thought it was manageable, which is good.
Another fun game.
It's a suspense kind of like fast-paced suspense type of scary, and not like a horror scary. But yeah, it definitely can get a little bit hectic when you're trying to when you're on the third go around, and your quota keeps getting bigger and bigger, and you're on the last day, and you have to go to some place that's like
infested.
Yeah, right.
Very cool that they did like a free winter like update where like on the harder maps there's a monster that is a nutcracker with a shotgun. That's wild. But also like the mod community is really cool. Like creating monsters. Like Gage sent me one where like there's a Skinwalker mod where like it'll record audio from your gameplay, and the Skinwalker will like say that back to you. So you might think it's like your friend saying something to you, and it's not. It's the monster. It's like that is so messed up, but that's so cool.
Wait, this just in? Ro, there's one other game you played that you didn't mention, and that is Mario Kart on the Nintendo Switch.
Oh, right.
As
no.
Glenn has pointed out in the chat,
Oh,
fellas,
yeah.
I just wanted to point out
that.
Ro did not beat me in Mario Kart.
Yeah, I didn't. There's no excuse. I legit lost fair and square. That's just how it is. He beat me in 2 races, and then other people came and joined the party, and I was able to pull up. But it was only because there were other people in the race that I was able to pull ahead of Glenn. So,
Wow.
I mean,
1v1 you couldn't do it.
1v1 I could not do it. So Glenn takes the crown. I gotta bow down. I'm sorry. The Nintendo aficionado title has been revoked.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, he beat me. But Smash Bros.
Roshan wiped the floor with everybody.
In Smash Bros.
Mopped the floor.
Yeah.
And what's funny is that I'm not a big fan of fighting games, but Roshan came over and a bunch of people came over, and I was like, you know what? I'm kind of feeling Smash Bros tonight. Regretted that immediately because I was Roshan, like that scene in the first Avengers where the Hulk picks up Loki and kind of just like that was what Roshan was doing to everybody in Smash Bros. But specifically me, because I'm not good at those games.
I feel like I could take Ro.
You might. I have learned my lesson, and I'm not going to say like,
Okay.
yeah, I can fuck you up. I'm just going to say, yeah, you might. And then if I win, I
Oh,
Right, like the pool shark strategy. Yeah, I tried to.
Never
You know, it's
mind.
funny, Christian. You weren't there, but you were there in spirit. I got my ass handed to me the first round. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna channel Christian right now and try and win. And I picked Snake, and I still got my ass beat. It didn't do anything.
Should I come to Canada and come one of these little Gage parties?
Yes, you should. Absolutely, you should.
That'd be fun.
Sheldon, one of Gage's friends, used Minecraft Steve, and that was the only time that I was like, okay, this is rough. There's something about Minecraft Steve that just I could not.
He's built different.
Definitely.
Wow.
Christian, you got some other games? What you got for me?
Having a job in the games industry means I have to be more dialed into various discussions and various games. So officially, my 2023 catch up has officially not just begun, but it's already like underway significantly. Um, like last Wednesday, I hadn't beat Alan Wake 2, and then that night I had beaten it. And then I posted like a silly review after the Game Awards, where like okay, now that the Game Awards are over, I can post like a little like weird thing that I did, where like I made a graphic with my backlogged review and just posted it. That was funny. Yeah, the finals we talked about. Lego Fortnite is the thing that I tried. I did some videos for DualShockers on Lego Fortnite, and I've come to the consensus like it's cool. I get the appeal, but it's not quite for me. It's a little bit too productive of other games without doing its own thing, and it's too oversimplified for my own taste. Like, I get it. I had fun. Maybe I'll go back 1 or 2 times if anyone else wants to jump in for a little while. But like by myself, I don't feel the need to like go back in myself. But still wild that they even made a mode like this that is going to continue to get updates. It is not a limited time event. Rocket Racing also pretty fun as well. I tried that out. But significantly, what I mean by like 2023 catch up is I have played and beaten 2 more 2023 games since then, and also started a third. I sat down and played Jusant, which is the Game Pass Don't Nod game where you're like rock climbing, and that game was pretty great. That was like a pretty cool, like it's like 2 or 3 hours. It's not very long, and like that entire game is just like, here's this giant rock that you're gonna climb up for story reasons, and now the rest of the mechanic is like, all right, now here is like your triggers are each of your arms. You have to like reach out to the handholds. You have to keep in mind like the belay that you have for yourself, so you're like able to like put little things down, so like, if you like need to like swing yourself over to a new handhold, you can. And also a stamina meter where like the more you're out and climbing, the obviously your stamina is going to drain. You have to like stop climbing and like shake your hands and tie your like regain stamina. But like weather conditions and handhold types and like various other little things will make your stamina drain faster. So all these things make for like a really fun platforming adventure. It's like 2 or 3 hours. You sit down, it's like pretty chill, cool music. Like I enjoyed Jusant. Like it's probably up there in like in my maybe my top. It's in my top 10. And then I played and beat Ghost Runner 2. This is like obviously the sequel from 505 Games, the action platforming Ghost Runner 1, the sequel to it, and did not like this one as much. I was actually a little bit disappointed in Ghost Runner 2. The design philosophy, I think, got a bit too big, where like Ghost Runner 1 is very much like, this is a level focused game where like you go into a new level, your only focus is on like cool platforming, a pumping soundtrack, and like don't get hit and make sure your combos are good so that you survive. And Ghost Runner 2 continuously slows down. There's like a hub world that you have to like talk to people through, where it gets kind of boring. There's like open world segments that like really slow down gameplay, where like Ghost Runner 2 should not be a slow game. Like it needs to be like fast paced. And then there's like a lot of them in those open world segments, like the music is like kind of gone, and it fits the atmosphere for where you at in the story, but like you miss what made the original game so good, and it kind of suffers for it. Ghost Runner 2, I beat it. I enjoyed it mostly, but I was let down by it as a sequel. And then my third game that I'm playing now is Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which, to put it succinctly, is wonderful. Very cool game. Very cool game. I'm continuously surprised every single level. It's that cool.
So wonderful. Great pun. Gage, what you got for us?
Holy shit!
He did the thing.
He did the thing. So the finals, Lethal Company, all that good stuff, and then on the recommendation of somebody in this podcast, I have booted up and started. I'm only about an hour into it. Citizen Sleeper, which is, man, very, very interesting. So I'm not hooked on the gameplay yet. I still need to like try and like really figure out what's going on here, because I've got an ape brain, and this is very different than most of the games I play. But reading through that opening, I don't know what you call it, just the opening section of text that when you first wake up and you're reading through all this stuff, I don't know if it was the headspace I was in or what, but man, it hit me like a fucking ton of bricks. I was sitting there and I was like, what am I reading right? Like, what am I experiencing right now? Really, really, really good stuff. Really kind of like deep stuff that really makes you think and kind of like self-reflect. Digging the vibes. Really, really digging the vibes. I'm gonna have to try and wrap my head around the whole dice and it's the managing your days and your hours and your energy. I haven't quite figured out what equals what and how that works, but I'm sold on the vibes of this game, like 110%.
The writing is good. I think both
Incredible.
Bro and I talked about
the
how
writing is
like,
incredible.
Like it made us cry. Like when we ended our game. But yeah,
I was feeling it. I went with the I think I went with the machinist. I don't know which one I should have picked if there's a meta, so to say, but I picked the machinist as my character just based off of the looks. I was like, yeah, this guy looks cool. But yeah, really, really kind of like it's depressing, but it's also kind of like intriguing at the same time. So it's like you're getting pulled into this really dark and decrepit kind of like world that they're building. Which the more you read it and the more you reflect is kind of not too far off from the one that we live in some ways, unfortunately. So very, very cool stuff. I'm excited to get deeper into that.
It took me a while to figure it out too. I think the more you go into it, the more the gameplay will become more fun. It'll be fun to manage.
The first hour is like kind of tutorializing. Like you don't really get the groove until like by the end of the second hour.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's also like not a long game either. So like, yeah.
Right.
There was DLC for it, right? They added a new story. I never went back to play it, unfortunately.
Me either.
They're making a second one, so I'll definitely be there for that.
Well, let us get deeper into the topic of the show. The topic of the show, guys. We're going to start with, Christian, your wrap up of our announcement prediction results.
Yeah.
You got a little doc there.
The past 2 weeks we did two different predictions, one for reveals and one for the actual winners. So I'll quickly go through the reveals points. It is incredible how poorly we did this year. I'll preface it. I'll preface it by that, and I'll do it like round robin, where I'll go down the line and then just say how many points we have so far. So the order is Dan, Ro, me, Gage. Dan, GTA 6 trailer with a release date of fall 2024. Did not happen at the Game Awards. Also, no 2024. That's 2025.
Yeah.
Ro said Arc Raiders gets a trailer, no release date, but a beta is announced. No, not happened at all. I concurred with Daniel. I said GTA 6 opens the show and we get a trailer with a release date. Of course, no. Gage said we get a 10-minute trailer for Death Stranding 2 with a release window.
We got a 10-minute like.
We got 8 minutes of him talking on. I was good. So I was in the right headspace. Headspace.
Yes, but not for the wrong reasons. So
right.
Zero points across the board for us. Continuing Death Stranding, Dan says Death Stranding gameplay trailer with a release date of Q2 2024. Of course, that wasn't there. Ro said Elden Ring trailer. I'm assuming it was like DLC. I probably missed DLC, but Elden Ring DLC trailer. No. Unfortunately, the week before, producer of the DLC said it's not ready to go just yet. I similarly said Death Stranding 2 gameplay trailer that is longer than 5 minutes. It'll get an official title, not called DS2, and a release date of October 2024 with Elle Fanning featured in the trailer. None of that. That's a lot. I kind of went overboard on that one.
Is that negative points?
You got overzealous, yeah, for sure.
And then Gage says Avowed gets a release date for summer. Still 0 points across the board.
That's crazy. We fumbled hard this year.
Until Dan came with his third prediction.
Oh.
Hellblade 2 release date trailer coming Q1 2024. We got Hellblade 2 as a trailer. It was not a release date trailer and it was not coming Q1 2024. So we're half a point there for Hellblade showing up, I think is apt, correct?
Sure. Yeah.
I'll take it.
Cool. So 0.5. Roshan came in and said, Capcom reveals its next Monster Hunter game with a release window of summer 2024.
Wow. Oh.
God damn it. I don't
little
think
bit
I got
off.
released. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Half
they
point.
did. They did half a point. Elden Ring: Shadow of the Erdtree. This is me. Gets a release date trailer. Gets a trailer and a release date of March 2024. No, 0. Gage with the first full point prediction. We get an awkward mainstream celebrity cameo from outside the games industry. Fam, we got multiple of those.
Pew pew pew. Am I right?
Gage
All right.
playing the game, man, and getting a full point. Oh, I'm sorry. I oops.
Oh.
I skipped
No,
one
no,
of
no.
Gage's. I skipped
okay.
one of Gage's.
I
I
thought
skipped
you were
his
going
third. That was his.
to detract the point.
That was his. Okay, well, that's fine. Dan coming in for this fourth, saying God of War Ragnarok DLC announced coming summer. You were almost there,
Almost.
and it released right now, or I guess next week, and it's free. Ro, I also skipped your third one. Your third one was Playdead announces its new sci-fi
Oh,
game.
God.
We're still waiting. We're
Someday.
still waiting. I threw a Hail Mary with Silk Song gets a surprise trailer with a release date. Sadly, it is slated for April and not today. 0 points. Still no Silk Song anywhere. Gage's third was that God of War Ragnarok gets a DLC teaser.
Oh.
I highlighted out this one as yellow because I wanted to see what you guys are feeling. If this is like considered a half a point or a full point, or how are we feeling on this one? I throw it to you, everyone.
I would.
Like, this wasn't a teaser. This was like a
Right.
straight trailer
That's
for like
true.
the
Yeah,
game is coming out now.
That's true.
I'm gonna start off negotiations with a half point. I think
I
half
would-
point's fair.
I would give you a half point because I was
yeah.
going to give you
Yes.
a full point.
That's
Yes,
I was-
half point.
I think half.
Rashan was gonna
half
give me
one
a
is
fuck.
good.
I gotta let him start next.
So as we go into our fifth and final prediction, no, you know what? No, if you guys lost track, that's on you. I'll be quiet until because we're already on the last one. Last one. Daniel said Gears 6 trailer with a release date of fall 2024. We're still waiting. Still waiting. Roshan, Open Roads returns with a release date. This one was not at the Game Awards. This happened on its
Day
own.
before, I think.
So I highlighted this as yellow. Does this count? So I don't
would
think it was
say no.
affiliated with the actual show.
Yeah, I'd say no, unfortunately. Because it wasn't even like them trying to get ahead
Wow.
of leaks or anything, because it wasn't at the show at all. They just
I was
traded
go-
out.
I was
Yeah.
gonna give Roe 50 points, but he said 0.
50.
So
Fuck you,
yeah.
Dan. I was gonna say the same thing. I was gonna say.
Yeah, unfortunately. But I'm glad it happened.
Yeah, right.
Finally.
My fifth and final was that Machine Games comes back to show off a gameplay trailer for Indiana Jones. No, still haven't seen that game. And then Gage's last one, as always, State of Decay 3, an engine trailer with a release window. 0.
God damn it!
Oh, Gage.
So your standings are as follows. Me in fourth place with exactly 0 points.
Wow.
Did not move the needle at all. Roshan in third with half a point for his Capcom trailer, Monster Hunter.
Gage wins.
Daniel with a full point for his God of War and his Hellblade. And then, Gage with 1.5.
Fucking go, boys! A W's a W. That's what I'm fucking talking about. It's about time. Now, you know what's funny? I always think to myself that I am the one who gets overhyped for these game shows, and I don't keep it in line. I was like, I'm gonna dial it back this year. But looking at all of our predictions, we all have a pattern of this is crazy. Like we were all way off base.
Yep.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
One of these years, one of us is going to be right. Eventually. On one thing. On one of those crazy predictions.
On one of
we're
those
gonna
things,
be
yeah.
right.
All right. Now we move into Game Awards 2023 prediction results for the actual awards, and I'm assuming we're just going to talk
Yeah.
about the 15 that we predicted.
Yes. Yeah. And if you want to talk about any of the winners, then feel free. I wrote them down. Best multiplayer went to Baldur's Gate 3. I got that one correct. Dan said Diablo. Rose said Diablo. 1 point for me. Best fighting, which was relegated to, I think, an off-screen award, went to Street Fighter 6, which I got right and Ro got right. And Daniel guessing Mortal Kombat 1. Did not happen.
Oops.
Best RPG, another one that was relegated to the speed awards, went to Baldur's Gate 3, which we all guessed correctly. Congrats to all of us.
Let's go.
Best action adventure game, another one that was relegated to the side, went to Tears of the Kingdom. Congratulations, Daniel, for that full point. I guessed Spider-Man 2. Ro, you also guessed Tears of the Kingdom. So that is another point for you.
Oh, yeah.
Best action game. I don't know what this went to because we all guessed Hi-Fi Rush and we all got that wrong. I'm assuming this was Armored Core 6, if I remember right.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think this was Armored Core 6, which I was, nominated for 1 award, won 1 award. Let's go, baby. Spider-Man, nominated for 7, won how many? That many.
None.
Best Best debut indie, which did get an on-stage award. Ro guessed Pizza Tower. No. I guessed Dredge. No. Dan with his I don't know, Cocoon. Yes. Cocoon won that award. Strangely, Best Independent Game did not get an on-stage award. Cocoon was Daniel's guess again, did not win. Sea of Stars is mine and Rose, and yes, Sea of Stars is one that did win. Best Performance, we all guessed Ben Starr. No, the award went to Niall for his work in Baldur's Gate 3. 0 points across the board for us there. Best Audio Design is kind of a Hail Mary for us. There's a lot of great options there to pick from. Ro and I both guessed Dead Space for Moda's work on the remake. And no, it actually went to Hi-Fi Rush. And Dan correctly guessed Hi-Fi Rush.
Accidentally.
And I will say real quick that we're level, all three of us, for tied right now with predictions.
Wow.
So all of us have 4 points right now.
Shit.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 predictions left. Best score in music, Hi-Fi Rush is what Dan guessed. No. Tears of the Kingdom, says Ro. No. It went for the man who, Final Fantasy 16. From his cancer bed.
Yes.
From his cancer bed.
I learned about that today. I was like, what?
Oh,
What the
wow.
hell?
Best art direction, Daniel guessed Mario Wonder. No. Ro with Hi-Fi Rush. No. Went to Alan Wake 2. It's kind of the beginning of a little bit of an Alan Wake sweep. Best narrative, Daniel and I. Huzzah. We both guessed correctly. It was Alan Wake 2. It was Ro that was incorrect for his guess of Baldur's Gate 3. Final two, best game direction. Dan and I both thought this would go to Aonuma for Tears of the Kingdom. Did not. It actually went to Sam Lake for Alan Wake 2. Congratulations, Ro, for that correct guess. And lastly, game of the year. Daniel, Tears of the Kingdom? No. Baldur's Gate 3, says Ro and I? Yes. Your total standings then is Daniel in third place with 5, Ro in second with 6, and me in first with 8.
Dang. Ran away with it.
Not bad, not bad. I was actually feeling pretty iffy on a lot of these, so I think I did okay considering.
Yeah. There was a lot of good categories.
What was
All right.
not good, Daniel?
That's a good point. Best
Best
ongoing
ongoing
game. That's right. Yes. Best ongoing game, which we will just mention right now. Cyberpunk 2077 won Best Ongoing Game. And they posted a little tweet after the Game Awards when Sean Murray was tweeting fuck because someone said in a comment, okay, Sean, don't overpromise, just say we've been working on something and show some clips. And then they put in quotes, I'm making Earth. And Sean Murray saying fuck because he's, overselling or yeah. And Cyberpunk responds, yes, the best ongoing game, Cyberpunk, responds with, you can always fix it later. Congrats on the impressive reveal. Terrible comment. Terrible comment.
Tone deaf.
And yeah, and I don't want to, I don't want to plaster this on all the developers that have been working hard on making this, comeback, so to speak, because maybe I'm sure many of them don't feel what this comment says, but the fact that this community manager or whoever posted this absolutely horrific post, I just don't understand how we could be excited about giving best ongoing game to a company that posts this, not to mention, in my opinion, that not even fulfilling that category. But
right. And it's setting a dangerous precedent too, because I think it was just a few months ago that one of the bigwigs at I don't know if it was CD Projekt or if it was their publishing arm, but one of the C-suite fucking assholes said something about that he thinks that the backlash to Cyberpunk wasn't actually that bad and it was overblown at launch. So there's already kind of like this feeling of bumping responsibility of that game. So then to now be rewarded for fixing the game afterwards, I don't see how this is going to help developers in the long run, with publishers setting unrealistic dates and making developers work these insane hours to then finish. Like, this is just bad all around, I think.
Dude, what this implies is, like, it does not matter how you release your game, so long as
Right.
one, we get your money, and two, we fix it down the line, we will still get the flowers. It does not matter what happens when you release it. It's like, no, this 100%, you charge people full price for this game, knowing it was broken. What do you mean? This is absolutely awful. And the tweet is still up. Like, does nobody care? What?
This game was delisted from PlayStation.
yeah,
That is unheard of. What's the other game that's just been recently delisted from a major platform the day before? Like, this is insane. And it's like, I mean, we're all on the same page. I don't know why I'm getting animated about it, but like, it's crazy to me that this game would be acknowledged. And like we were saying, like there's a few games that we thought should have been nominated that weren't, and that were nominated that didn't. I remember as we were watching this live streaming that this category came up and we were all joking about it. And it was so out of the realm of possibility that I said out loud, could you imagine if Cyberpunk actually won? And then he opens the envelope and the best award for ongoing game goes to Cyberpunk. How disrespectful to the industry and to game developers, to consumers. Like, this game launched on Xbox One and PS4 and it did not run. It did not work. That's crazy.
insanity.
I think disrespectful is like the best way to put it, because it really is, especially like as you said, as we've been saying, at a place that's supposed to be celebrating Game Awards, there are so many other games that have been doing what that award is supposed to encompass better than Cyberpunk, and it's really sad. And I love Cyberpunk, but it wasn't what it was now at launch, and how they have gotten away with it and got a nice award is crazy, wild.
Right.
I don't think any of us expected it to win. Like, have what you will about the nominee of Cyberpunk, but I don't think any of us actually expected it to win. It was insane.
And I just want to throw this out there because, I mean, they're tweeting to Sean Murray, and there's like this No Man's Sky connection. I don't think No Man's Sky won any awards simply for just turning it around. The game is a legitimate MMO experience. So like, No Man's Sky launched, it had its issues. It was not the game that was promised. There's no beating around the bush. They fixed it, and then they continued to support the game in an ongoing fashion.
Right.
That's why this game earns the accolades that it gets, because they've done like 220% of what the game was originally supposed to be. Like, it's not. So the fact that they're tweeting with this, I don't want people to start using that as like an excuse to be like, oh well, No Man's Sky. Completely different scenarios, completely different situations.
And they CD Projekt said like Phantom Liberty is like the one and only DLC that Cyberpunk is getting. It's literally not ongoing.
It's not.
It's like not ongoing at all.
And this isn't a community vote, right? This is like people who are on the board voting for this, which is even more insane. Like, these are the people that are playing these games and are supposed to know what these games mean, and are still picking the obvious wrong choice, in my opinion. And I think a lot of people agree with that.
Right.
But yeah, that's that. I don't know.
And
It's kind of sad.
I think there needs to be some accountability there. I think they need to be more transparent about who is actually voting on these things. Like
Yes.
Jeff always talks about that he's not on the board, he doesn't choose the games. That's cool, and I respect that, but we need to know who is voting on this stuff because some of this doesn't make sense to me.
Very good point. Very good point, Dan. And you know what? It makes me wonder too. Like when we see things like advisory board, like what does that mean? Like what's what's the connection? Who's making these decisions? Who has input and influence over the show and the winners? That's a really good point. I didn't even think about that.
Indeed. All right, let's jump real quick into the last part because I would like to get Gage's thoughts before he has to do a hard out here in a few minutes. I know it's very, very soon, Gage. But we do want to have a discussion. How do we improve the Game Awards? There's a lot of problems with how the Game Awards is structured. And we have some different, opinions on how that, should take shape or shouldn't take shape or whatnot. But I think there's always absolutely room for a conversation to how do we improve the Game Awards? Like,
right,
consistently staying the same way or changing things up just for the sake of changing things doesn't seem to be working. So I think we need to, think about some meaningful improvements to make this show better, I guess. So Gage, just want to get some of your thoughts before you have to run out of here on what you think about
for sure.
Some changes.
Yeah. I want to start off by saying the main crux of the issue with the Game Awards, and I think it's something that's maybe easy to get lost in the shuffle, or that maybe is being left to be something that's implied and maybe not explicitly said, but the Game Awards, it's not an issue that the Game Awards are bad or that the Game Awards are somehow a net negative. It's that I think the issue that a lot of people are having is that it's the identity for which the Game Awards gives to itself, and then what we end up seeing, right? So the Game Awards, the issue that I am starting to have, and this year it became more clear than ever, is that Jeff Keighley has always described the Game Awards as a night to celebrate games and the people who make them. Now, obviously, big reveals and world premieres and all that stuff has always been in the Game Awards. It's always been a part of its identity. But Jeff Keighley he's always described them as an awards show, right? Regardless of what actually happens, when Jeff Keighley talks about the Game Awards, he always talks about them as an awards show and for acknowledging devs and all that stuff. And so this year, it felt more apparent than most that devs were kind of being shuffled and put on the back burner to allow for these more elaborate set pieces and for these celebrity hosts and all this stuff. And I think in a year that's been as turbulent as this one has been for game developers, while also still being a blockbuster year that with all these standouts, that it just felt tone deaf. And if there's one place that something shouldn't be tone deaf, is a celebration of an industry at an industry event like this. You know what I mean? Like that's the last place you'd expect to get that feeling. And I can only imagine some of the devs how they felt to win some of these awards, only to find out that they're not going up on stage, they're not getting this time they want to thank people. There's so many different things. So I think we all kind of feel somewhat similar in that regards, but it feels like acknowledging the devs and the people who make these games is coming secondary to these big marketing sort of reveals. And I don't know. What do you guys think? Let's somebody else jump in.
I go. There's really nothing more for me to add on that front. I think Gage pretty much summarized all of my feelings. I think and I'll say anything about the awards show themselves, I think the like night of and the day after, I was so taken aback, but I guess like the lack of focus on awards that I was almost like angry for the devs. And I think there's like enough justification for like multiple like articles and like think pieces from insiders and like various like devs to be outspoken about that. I totally think that's justified. I think my initial thought of like the Game Awards like doesn't need to happen anymore. They need to shift into like summer games, like Winter Games Fest, you know, whatever the conversation was on Twitter, like is the move for them. I'm probably walking that one back. Listening to other people talk throughout the games industry this week, like put things into perspective. There is a way to just do some minor tweaks and get the award show that we're not even that we want, but one that is like significantly better than that one we got this year. And the answer is like you don't even need to do less ads. You just need to do less like time doing these weird bits that are getting like exorbitantly like more airtime than the actual awards themselves. If you cut back on like Kojima's 8 to 9 minutes, on Gonzo talking for 3 minutes, what have you, suddenly you have like so much more time to include awards that like were relegated to off screen. And if you bump up the time by an extra 30 seconds, which is double the amount of time, and then start the time when they actually get on stage, suddenly you have an award show that is actually like feels like it's actually focusing on the awards as well as providing, you know, entertainment for like the reveals and is like you know, making advertisers happy. You have like a more of a balance, because this year did not feel like a balance at all. It felt extremely stifled.
Right. I think, and it comes down to like the fact that this is a show called the Game Awards. If I went to go watch Gran Turismo, and you know, 75 of the 90 minutes was spent with people talking, and then like there is a little bit of race car driving at the end, I'd be like, okay, what the hell's going on here? This is called Gran Turismo. Where's the Gran or the Turismo? And so when you have a night that's called the Game Awards, it doesn't matter that, you know, it's all that what its DNA is that has all these reveals and celebrity entertainers. This is the way it's always been. It's like I understand that, but at the same time, it's something that is kind of like it's called the Game Awards. So, go ahead.
Something someone mentioned, because you know, I tweeted like, think of how much money Jeff would save by not getting someone like Timothée Chalamet at the Game Awards. Let's be real. No one is watching the Game Awards because Timothée Chalamet is presenting an award. I think the move and what like journalists and developers were saying is like, get last year's winners to present the award for the new winner, which is what the Oscars do. And if this show is trying to do what the Oscars are, which is be like the award show for the games industry, because let's be real, this is what it's trying to do, despite many people saying like it's something else. It's trying to be the Oscars of the game of video games. That's like what it's trying to do. Then just have like the winners from last year present. You will save so much money. Suddenly you have much more flexibility in the show you're doing.
Right. I think it all comes back to like Jeff, what Jeff's game plan is, what he wants to accomplish. The criticism that people have, none of it is ever like trying to shut it down. If anything, a lot of this criticism is trying to guide him towards what he says he wants to do, right? And somebody it was Alana Pierce that brought this up. She had a pretty good video about this. And this is something that I think about a lot, and I think a lot of people have probably said this, but there's still this air of like insecurity with the Game Awards, where it's like we're trying to be taken seriously, so let's get all these A-list celebrities here. Let's get these mainstream movie actors. See, look, we're just like them. We're just like them. As opposed to just take a breath, take yourself seriously, because video games are a serious force of like entertainment. They're massive. They're huge. So instead of looking for approval for like these A-list celebrities to get all these people here, like Christian said, throw all that out the window and just have people in the industry be here, be surrounded by their peers, and just, you know, work amongst each other. And I think having the previous winners be the ones to announce the next ones, like that's perfect. I mean, these people are already here. They want to be here. That's the thing. Like, you don't have to pay like Sean, you don't have to pay Phil Spencer to come to the Game Awards. He's gonna come here anyways. You don't have to pay Christopher Judge to come to the Game Awards. He's gonna come here anyways.
Oh, Christopher Judge like announced the winner for best performance, right?
Right.
Can you remember who Anthony Mackie presented? for an
No, I
award.
can't. Right, that's right there. You just nailed it right there. I can't.
But I get your point.
Oh, what was it? Do you remember?
Wasn't it best adaptation because it was
Right.
Okay, I
What
guess
was it
this
called?
makes sense. All right, you got me
I
on
might-
this one, bro.
I might be
You-
wrong, but I
you got
agree
me
with
there.
I agree with the point though. I like we don't need those celebrities and the exactly what you said. They're spending too much time on people that don't care about the industry because they're just, to me, when I'm looking at them on stage, they're not taking it seriously. They're just phoning it in because they
Yes.
were paid to be there, and they're just doing this long-winded speech about stretching. Like the amount of time that Simu
Oh my
had,
god.
it was like, what are you talking about? I don't give a crap about what you're talking about right now, and I don't think you do either. And it was an advertisement for his game, so I guess that was why he was there. But it's like, I don't know. I think there was something that I said when we were watching it, and I admit that I think I was giving the Game Awards too much of a benefit of the doubt while watching it because I was enjoying what I was watching it,
Right.
but I was watching it for a different reason than what it's supposed to be for, and I was like enjoying the announcement stuff, but it wasn't. They weren't giving enough time to the awards, and I think I said something like, what about repeats? Like, why should Baldur's Gate come on stage over and over and over to get multiple awards? And Christian was like, and like, that's true. Like, so what? So what? They should absolutely be able to go on stage as many times as they win awards. Because I see like devs crying in their seats when they win an award. Like their people go up on stage to collect their awards. Like this shit matters to them that they get to finally go on stage after years and years and years of work on something. And even if it's just for 30 seconds, even though it shouldn't be for 30 seconds, they get to finally say, yes, we fucking did it. We did it. Like now we get to bask in our glory for working on this for years and years and years, for essentially us talking about it for like a month. We may talk for it for the year, but most of the time they get like a week or a month in the limelight, and we never talk about their game again unless it's like the topic of the show or it's like it's forgotten and they work on the next thing. So it's like we do need to, I think we're all agreed that they do need to get their time to shine and be on stage and finally talk about the shit that they've been working on all this time, instead of like the best independent game didn't get any screen time, which is an insane that Sea of Stars didn't get to go up on stage and say anything about their. That's nuts.
And that there's in contrast to the Oscars, somebody could win an award at the Oscars, an actor could win an award for like 2 or 3 different movies, because film is intrinsically different than games in that you can make 3 or 4 films in a year. Like you can be one actor and be a part of 3 or 4 different projects. But like Ro, you just nailed it perfectly. A lot of these guys are working on a project for like 2, 3, 4, 5 years to release it and then to not get your time to shine at the self-described Game Awards. That's the thing. And again, there's a difference between the event that you're watching and, you know, the purpose it's trying to serve, because the event was good. And I agree with you. Like, it wasn't until afterwards that I did reflection on this, and I reflected on the show that I started to notice all the holes in it. But like, as I was watching it, I was entertained. But the problem is that I think this is something that Jeff Keighley doesn't realize, is that the people who are tuning into this already like video games. You don't have to try and like convince them that it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm watching this. I don't need Timothy Chalamet to fucking tell me that, like, oh, I used to build control. Like, I don't care. I used to do that too. Cool. Good for you. Get the fuck out of here. Like, I'm here to watch, to see games and to connect with these developers and to, you know, hear why you like. I want to know. I want to know how you feel about this. I want to see these people win. I want to see these people shine. And
it's tough because I do want those announcements and I want a lot of them, but I also want the people to go on stage and get their time. So I understand his like dilemma here, but I think he overcorrected a little too much this year.
Yeah.
But like, I understand that like in most cases I won't be fully pleased. Like if they just do only awards, I think to an extent I would be more happy with that because that's what you're branding it as. But like, of course I want to see the announcements and stuff like that too. But it's just when that overshadows what the Game Awards is supposed to be like about that gets me upset, I guess.
I listened to, well, I'll just say this, like, we're talking so passionately about it because we obviously care about the show.
right.
And we're going to keep caring about the show. We're probably going to keep watching the show. But I listened to Kind of Funny's Games Daily conversation about it because it's pretty insightful. It was Greg and Blessing going back and forth, and And Greg started his like kind of take with like, if you want this kind of award show that you're like asking for, there's DICE, which is fair. It's valid. But then I thought about it, I was like, well, let's think about like viewership. Like DICE, okay, the Game Awards last year has racked over 100 million views. 100 million streams, man. You know how much the DICE Awards this year got? Less than 3,000 views. Yes, in terms of prestige, DICE is probably the one that is like the one, I guess, that matters in terms of like for developers. But in terms of like cultural cachet, getting a Game Award like fundamentally means something. It's the same way like when a movie wins like movie of the year at the Oscars, like that will move the needle for the general population to like go and like check out this movie that they never heard of.
And pay attention for their future works.
And people who are this, it's the same way with games. When you have 100 million people watching, of course, hearing that Baldur's Gate 3 won Game of the Year is going to move the needle in some capacity. It was kind of the wrong way this week with people being like, "What is Baldur's Gate 3? Spider-Man 2 should have won." But you get what I'm saying. Like this, like it has like a footprint. Like it is actually moving the needle. So where was I going with this?
DICE versus.
All I'm trying to say is like we want the show to be better because it can be better, and you can make this these minor tweaks to make a better show, because people are watching.
Dan.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
I agree with a lot of what you guys are saying, and I'm on board for making changes for the better and all of that. Like, and I agree, Christian. Like, I don't think that, pointing to the DICE Awards or, the other illustrious industry award shows that don't get the viewership, I don't think that that's the right answer to just, pigeon that off and say, no, just go to that if you want, like, real official awards. I definitely agree that we should focus on improving the Game Awards, and that still can be awesome and exists for developers. But I also think, for instance, you guys were talking about previous winners presenting. I think that's perfect. I think that's what should happen, is previous award winners should present the awards. But Christian, you mentioned, for instance, that they're trying to be like the Oscars in doing that, which maybe that's the inspiration of them trying to aspire to that. But personally, I don't think that Jeff really wants it to be the Oscars of the Game Award. Like, I don't think that Jeff necessarily wants that. Like, for right or wrong reasons, and it is his show. He funded the original show after Spike TV pulled out, and I do think that he really, he does care about the industry as a whole, and the awards should be the reveals should be supplemental to the awards, not vice versa. And I think that was the problem this year, that the awards were supplemental to the reveals. And I think that's personally my biggest takeaway from what could be grown from the show, is flip-flopping that. And like Jeff has talked about, he wants to expand the video game industry to as many people as possible. And I think that's why we get, for, again, right or wrong reasons, why we get Timothée Chalamet and all these people, because it's not necessarily for the people watching live who are big gamers. It's for, those takeaways and headlines after the show that, your mainstream media picks up and says Timothée Chalamet was at the Game Awards. And
then you're doing it for the wrong reasons, in my opinion.
That's fair. I mean, that is a fair criticism. I just think, I don't know if that necessarily, does that negatively impact the game industry to have more people aware of what's going on, I guess, separate from the totality of all the issues that we're talking about. I just think that, having Timothée Chalamet there isn't natively an issue. I feel like that all the other issues kind of compounded that, but like, that's just my...
because you're right. Because the real issue is, like, in a perfect world, we could have a place where, like, you don't need these kinds of things. When in reality, like, no, like, that obviously does help it for headlines, and then you get more eyes on the actual... Because you're right. That is 100% why they do things like this. I just wish it weren't that way.
Right. That's fair, and that's
And I think part of the problem too is that for many years there has been a criticism that the Game Awards are very, very long. So then to have this issue where it's like, please wrap it up, and it's like, this is a 3.5 hour show. Who the fuck are you telling to please wrap it up? You know what I mean? Like that's part of the issue where it's like, I think we can have both of these things. We can have these great reveals. We can have these crazy, zany, wacky dance numbers, but
which is
if
good.
you're scheduling which is great, which is good, and I love watching clips show up on my timeline. I'm like, yeah, this was crazy. But
Gage, do you
it's
have a
3
hard out?
hours.
By the way, I don't want you to be
do have a
late
hard
for
out.
work.
I do have a hard out. I'm gonna leave right after this. But yeah, if the show is gonna be 3 hours long, there is absolutely some. You can fudge the books. You can move some numbers around and give developers the time that they want. People are talking about like, oh, we should be able to bump it up from 30 seconds to a minute. Like, I think every single category should be able to have 2 minutes to talk if they want, and then, like it. And that's the thing. Start with that. Block out that. Schedule that in your itinerary, and then you do your bits afterwards. Then you write your bits around that, and you see how much time you have left. You know what I mean? As opposed to, well, sorry, hurry up! I gotta get the puppet on stage so that we could do a fucking Sesame Street beat or whatever the fuck. I don't know. But yes, that's my hard out. GG's, keep talking and keep on gaming.
Thanks, Gage. Thanks.
All right, bye, Genki.
I guess the last thing I'll say is that shout out to Rebecca Valentine for her IGN article where she reached out to the winners of the Game Awards for their chance to speak, which I thought was like incredible. I mean, not much more to add there. Like, if there's going to be any place to do it, like, at least it will exist in writing somewhere.
Yes, that was very cool. I'm glad you added that because I saw that and I meant to add that and I completely forgot all the speeches that didn't get spoken, I guess. One more thing one more improvement that I feel like they could make that I thought of in terms of the timing. Jeff already knows all the winners, like as far as I'm aware, he already knows all the winners.
Right.
So structurally, I personally feel like they could, and I totally get what both of you are saying about, developers should be able to go up there as many times as they want or whatever, but I feel like it would be far better suited for time if they took something like, if your best narrative and best RPG and best, I don't know, something else, if you know that they've won all three of those awards, position it so that, whatever you feel like is the most prestigious award, you announce that one, and then they come on stage and you say, also they won best narrative and best this, and you give them more time to speak because of them winning multiple awards. So instead of, personally, I do think they need more time. 30 seconds, that's not enough time for one person. So give them 2 minutes or 2.5 minutes to speak with those 3 awards that they won, and have your normal people speaking for, a minute and a half or whatever you decide, 2 minutes. And then you're going to fucking hate this. But,
Oh, no.
I already did. I'm sorry.
This next piece you're going to hate, but the stuff like Gonzo and that kind of stuff, I don't see that going away. So how do you position that better? Make Gonzo fucking present best ongoing game, for instance. Like fucking Cyberpunk was the nominee, so that's clearly not that serious. So have Gonzo come out. Yeah, and make that part of the show. Like instead of having those weird, Jeff commenting, which Jeff loves his Muppets. It's a weird fascination, but
as we all should.
Yeah. But yeah, just small things like that. The time that you're getting back from small changes like that, I feel like would pay off in the long run as well.
Yes, yeah. And it would make for a totally different show. Like any of these ideas, you start implementing these, and it would make for a totally different show.
Agreed. Yeah. I think what we all can agree on is that they spent way too much time on reveals compared to proportionally to the game to the awards.
Yeah, I think people were doing math. I think the night of the Game Awards, and like, here's how much minutes was spent on this, and like at the very bottom was obviously like winners and stuff, which is like 8 minutes or something, like crazy. Very not a lot of time.
Indeed. And also, why do we have a 30-minute pre-show with more reveals and not have, or just have the 30-minute pre-show dedicated to reveals and then fucking put the awards in the award show, like the main show?
I don't know.
I don't know. Like Christian mentioned, how Soken, where the guy who did the best score for Final Fantasy 16 was hospital bed, and that award was like off screen as well. And I learned about the hospital bed thing in a skill up video today. Like, I should have learned about that at the Game Awards where he won the award.
Yes.
Like him or somebody else should have been able to say that or share that story.
Remember? Do you remember when Larian was going to announce that Baldur's Gate 3 is now on Xbox, and they weren't able to because they were ushered off stage? Like, that's an announcement, but like there was a lot of stuff, like, the other one about like talking about how people from the development studio were like, died during the development, and like having that like be juxtaposed with a picture of like please wrap it up, like, just it doesn't make for good optics, sadly. So like, yeah, you got to fix that stuff a little bit.
And honestly, I have maybe too much faith, but I have faith that he will fix it. Like Dan, I agree with Dan that I do think Jeff like does care to a certain degree, that he will make those changes and hopefully have a better reward show next year or the year after. I don't know how much planning goes into. I don't know if he started planning already or if it's closer down the line. But yeah,
SGF is next, I think.
Right, that's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope that he's listening, and I believe that he's listening.
Sorry, one more thing I just thought of as well that I think you guys briefly talked about. I absolutely, he shouldn't have glossed over or not even talked about the developer layoffs, because like that was a major issue this year. Like, and I'm sure he has all of his people on the board or whatever that are many of those companies that laid off those people, which is a tricky thing to navigate, I get, but you navigated when Activision was having all of its problems, and you spoke up about workplace issues in that Game Awards, and Activision was actually on the board that year. So, and of course Konami and Hideo Kojima, that was very outspoken about that as well.
Fuck Konami, whatever he said.
Yeah. Well, we got some good suggestions here. Good ideas flowing. Jeff, call us up. Call us up. Anything else you guys want to mention before we close out the show?
I think we covered it.
Okay. Thank you again to everyone joining us live on YouTube and Twitch, as well as podcast services everywhere, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your podcasts. Thank you, Ro. Thank you, Christian. Thank you, Gage, who is running to work. I am Daniel, and this has been Podcast PXN, and we are out. Much love, and keep on gaming.
See ya.